Habari Entertainment proudly presents Habari Live.
Habari Live.
From Phoenix, Arizona. And you're listening to the Habari Live podcast, the show that brings you news, sports, and entertainment for people who love HabariEntertainment.com. Here are your hosts, Iesha, Jimmy, and Damon Dipleen Ellison. Let's get it going. We are all the way live.
Good morning, Habari Ghani, my people. We are thrilled to bring you the latest edition of Habari Live, your go-to podcast for the Post of Phoenix and beyond. As always, we are all the way live in Paradise Valley in Phoenix, Arizona. And I am Damon Ellison and my co-host,
Iesha.
We will be your guide through the exciting stories and everyday happenings in our vibrant community. Your weekly dose of inspiration, innovation, and insightful conversations from the heart of our city. But first, we're going to get to the top stories and what's been happening throughout the week with Iesha. Let's get it going.
For sure. Good morning. We're going to begin this week with a major moment in women's sports. The WNBA is on the verge of a landmark salary agreement that could reshape the future of professional athletics. The deal is expected to significantly boost player pay, their benefits, and revenue sharing, making one of the most historic financial shifts in women's sports.
Hand me the water.
One of the and superstar is ready to make headlines. A'ja Wilson is set to make an historic, record-breaking deal. She's set to sign a $1.4 million Supermax contract, positioning her amongst the highest-paid players in league history and signaling a new era for financial recognition among women athletes.
That's good, man. We're happy for them. I'm happy for them, you know what I mean? And it's good that they're getting paid more than what they were getting paid at first. The game has grown, and, you know, she deserves it. They won, back-to-back titles? So you got to get that to them. And, you know, a lot of people have you know, the WNBA is a butt of a lot of jokes online, and people love to talk trash about them, and it's a big joke to a lot of people. The same people who are hollering how much they love Caitlin Clark, at the same time they shit on the league. It's a weird situation. But you know, I'm happy the WNBA is getting paid, and the players, I think it was a $300,000 minimum in the new contract. So I'm just happy to see that they're making strides in women's sports. Now, I have heard that the number of girls playing ball on the level of high school is going down. There's less girls playing, which is kind of weird, you know what I mean? But that's the way it's going on nowadays. It's just a weird situation. So, like I said, with the team salary cap will be rising to $7 million, up from $1.5 million in 2025. Top players will earn $1.4 million, a supermax salary, while the average salary will exceed $583,000, and the minimum salary will range from $270,000 to $300,000. So that's much better for them, and a much better situation for them to be able to, you know, make sure their families are good and to get paid for what they're doing. A lot of the girls would have to go to other states and other places to be able to play. To be able to have a decent salary, they have to go overseas, and that's something that this should change. And the girls will be able to handle themselves and be able to pay their bills without going overseas to play. So, round of applause for them for getting everything together. And you know, and they're adding teams, and revenue is growing, and They have a revenue sharing deal. The rookie salary, top draft picks can earn up to 500,000. That's pretty good. Players will receive 20% of the gross league team revenue, so that's good. It's a lot of good thing. Bonuses: the 2026 WNBA champions are expected to receive the $60,000 bonus on each player. Minimum roster size increases to 12 plus 2 additional development spots, so that's good. And it's a lot of good things that's happening for the WNBA, so that's good for them. What you got next?
For sure.
Oh yeah, that.
We're going to turn to media access and government transparency here for a little bit. A federal judge has ruled that the Pentagon policy restricting independent press access is unlawful.
Mm.
The decision reinforces First Amendment protections and comes amid growing concerns about transparency within the Department of Defense, now known as the Department of War under Trump. But in a related case, the court also sided with the New York Times in its challenge to those same restrictions, further affirming journalists' rights to access and report on government operations.
Yeah, man, it was pretty rotten when Hexef made this move in the first place. To see journalists get kicked out of the Pentagon because this guy doesn't want people covering their moves, their actions, who they're bombing. Pretty disgusting stuff, man. So I mean, I'm happy that the judge has struck this down, and I'm hoping that the journalist wing in the Pentagon is added back, because right now he only has people that you would call Trump loyalists in the House, and that's the only people that are saying has an opinion nowadays on what's going on in the Pentagon. Right. And it's just crazy, man. These people have we've been lowered as a country. I forgot exactly was, but they're saying that we are more authoritarian with the way our leaders are moving, and they're right. Our leaders are moving in authoritarian ways, and America is headed to an authoritarian country where only thing that matters is what the president says, and that's the power. He bragging about how much power he has the other day, and I have so much more power than I did the first time. Now you're just more of a piece of shit. You're just running over people, telling people what they can and can't do, telling people, you can't have a game on when the Army and Navy is playing. That's the only thing that can be played. No other college football games. I'm putting that order in. Like, man, what the hell, dog? This dude put his nose in everybody's fucking business. And the people who scream and holler, small government, they ain't said a word. They don't care at all. They're okay with this guy stomping all over the Constitution, telling everybody in the fucking planet what they need to do. It's disgusting stuff, man. And I don't know how these people can wake up and look at themselves in the mirror supporting this garbage.
Exactly. Moving on, here in Arizona, as Proposition 123 approaches its expiration, education leaders warn that simply renewing the funding won't be enough. The measure, which supports public schools funding through state and land trust revenues, is now part of a broader conversation about long-term investment in Arizona classrooms. And in Phoenix, controversy continues as over law enforcement accountability, as city officials confirm that no officers will face discipline after protesters were wrongly labeled as gang members during demonstrations, which raises renewed concerns about policing practices and civil rights.
I mean, dude, we have in Phoenix these police officers just get away with everything. I mean, straight up, they do whatever the hell they want to, man. They shoot who they want. They pay no price for anything. They shot a guy who was the wrong person. Shot down the wrong guy. The guy was just minding his business. They were supposed to be finding the guy who was in his car committing suicide.
They go to a
They
guy
go
at the
to a
park.
guy in the park and go mess with him. He's a homeless man. They shoot him, kill him. No one will face any repercussions for what they did. No one. No one is going to see anything for their actions. Killed a man, shot a man in cold blood, and they shoot people daily here. And it's because the gun laws are laxed, and these police officers are just scared, and they just shoot everyone. And it's disgusting. It's disgusting stuff, man. And no one is paying the price for anything. This is during the Black Lives Matter protest. They labeled everyone as a gang member, and the people on the right love this type of stuff. They always for it. And I saw people online still cheering this shit on. Yay. They shouldn't have been going for Black Lives Matter anyway. They were destroying property. They are a gang. Then when it's them and they're tearing down Congress and the country's houses where politics are held in the state house and Senate. I mean, the country's federal, and these people tearing it down, defecating on people on Pelosi's desk, just tearing it up, doing whatever the hell they want to. They're called patriots. But anybody else that's walking, full pardons. They didn't do anything wrong. They were patriots. But anybody else is a gang and gang members, and they deserve to be in jail. And then they get upset when we say you have the complexion for the protection. As we see people, the Cesar Chavez right now getting torn apart for some things that's coming back from his past.
A dead man.
Tearing him apart, trying to take down everything that has his name on it.
But won't do that with Trump.
Won't bring
it in the Epstein
He
files.
can't even go to a hearing. He can't face any repercussions for him. Anything. I mean, the dude, whatever he does, he tried to steal an election. We see it. Everybody just put him back in. Like these people, man, it's insane, man. If anybody else did what Trump did, trying to steal the election, they would be in jail right now.
Yep.
But since it's their guy and their daddy, it's all good. Everything's cool. There's no problem. He can try to steal the election. He could be found liable of rape. He could be found guilty for fraud. Still vote for him. But then they want to call themselves the law and order party. Get your fuck out of here. Shit is bullshit. And Phoenix is no different. These Republicans just let the police do what the fuck they want to. They never face accountability. Never. I mean, they could shoot, kill, send people to jail that's not supposed to go to jail. It's okay. They can do that. It's good old policing. Yeah. It's crazy, dude. I don't understand how we're going to tell other people that they have to obey the law when the people who are at the highest seats are not held to the same standard. Police officers who are collecting our tax dollars, putting it in their pockets. They can go around. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to follow the rules. They can break whatever laws they want to. I'm watching on YouTube the other day. This fucking police officer puts a guy in jail for a meme that he posted on Facebook because he didn't like the meme. He locks the guy up. He has no reason why. He just didn't like the meme that the guy posted, so he locked him up. This is the type of shit that goes on. And they get away with it, and it's all good, it's all fine when they do it. But if we do it, we got to pay the price. Put this guy in jail. That sheriff who locked that dude up should go to jail himself. It's ridiculous. But these are the type things that we are facing every day. These people are crazy. Mm-hmm. But what's the next story?
Lastly, in Georgia, a U.S. Army veteran is now facing an attempted murder charge after police say that she attempted to terminate her pregnancy at home. The case is drawing national attention as debates intensify over reproductive rights and how such laws are enforced at state levels.
Oh, man. At state levels, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous, dude. What was it there?
A U.S. veteran is facing murder charge
Mm-hmm.
for an abortion.
Oh yeah, that's
at
what it was.
home.
Abortion. Yeah. So I mean, my bad. You got this problem that we had in the 60s and 70s where girls were doing back alley abortions and doing things that are way outside the law um, to get an abortion. And these are the reasons why at that time he made it legal to have an abortion, because of the things that these girls were doing. Get an abortion was just ridiculous. It was terrible. And we're headed back down to that road where we're locking girls up for using medication that's available to have abortions. We're trying to lock up doctors. The South is just, they're all on it. I'm happy in Arizona that the shit wasn't passed, and we're not going to make girls have babies. So girls can be dumping babies in trash cans. Like, this idea of trying to make someone have a kid, and this coming from the same people who do not believe in daycares. They don't believe in helping at all. They don't believe in anything. Let me see. I'm not a fan of ICE. What does that say? I'm not a fan of ICE. I am questioning our border and immigration policy and total home name that's to be dismantled and a new agency. Yeah, I agree. But you have to have immigrants, though. I do know that. Oh my goodness. Anyway, but yeah, man. So we have to do better as a country, man. I don't understand why so many people are okay with pushing these girls to have something that they're not ready to have, and we know that everyone doesn't do the right thing. I know. Oh, why are they having sex? When you're having sex, you should be ready to have a baby. Yes, we understand that. Everybody understand that, but people don't follow those rules. And this is a new day when there are ways to erase the mistakes. And I hate to say the word erase, but fix. I mean, it's not your situation. If you don't believe in it and you don't believe that that should be done, then that's the way you should live your life. But pushing your values onto other people and telling other people what they need to do, it's just not the American way, man. And religion and people's religious thoughts are not supposed to run this country. It's supposed to be separate. It's supposed to be separation of church and state. And these people trying to use their religion and their ideals of what religion is supposed to be to push onto others what they shouldn't be able to do is wrong. And it's against the Constitution. But this is something that the Christians do daily, and they try to push on their 10 commandments, and they try to they're knocking on people's doors, and Jehovah's and Mormons and all these other people, man, doing everything they can to try to push their thoughts and their beliefs onto others. Man, if young people have sex is bad, young people are now having kids or sex at the same, people are complaining. Yeah. I mean, we try to keep the kids from having sex at young ages. You try to teach them, but we all were young, and we all know that we made mistakes and we made bad decisions. And we know that that's the way, that's how you learn, that's how you grow. And no one's going to be perfect. And all these Christian kids who are claiming they're waiting for their day, and we find out personally they're doing all these weird things. Then we find out these priests who supposed to be, not having sexual encounters, they're raping little kids. Like, these things, just because you say you are one thing and then you do other things in the dark, does that not mean it happens? It's like, what is it? A bear shit in the woods,
If a tree fell in the woods.
Well, whatever. uh, right, that had nothing to do with the. But anyway, Yeah, man. So it's tough, man. But we know these kids are gonna make mistakes. It's just all about how do you fix these mistakes? How do you make things better? You're not gonna make them better by paying the price for something for the rest of their lives for 18, 19 years. It's not gonna teach them anything, man. Unfortunately. What you got?
That's it.
All right. So I mean, we see America, it's tough right now with this president and the people that we have in power. But we're going to talk about some of the things that's been going on, man. One of the main things that I've been seeing a lot is what is this? Hold on one second. All right. So the main thing, my bad. The main thing we're going to talk about is education. Now I have a couple videos I want to play that talks about some of the things that's going on in education right now, man. America, we have a lot of problems, man. And we're watching Donald Trump as he dismantles the education department on the federal level. And they're all, oh, it needs to go to the states. It needs to go to the states. But it's always been up to the states. Education has always been that's why it's measured by state. And we look back at the measurements and we see who are the worst performing states. Every year continuously, it's the Republican ran states that are the worst and at the bottom when it comes to education. Mm-hmm. We get them in charge and they want to put their ideas on a federal level. Why would we listen to these people when in their own states and communities they are failing? Why would we listen to failures? They're Arizona 49th. Like Mississippi has made a move up the last couple of years, and I haven't read into what they're really doing. But we all know that the main thing about education when it comes to Republicans is they think that education should be something that pushes kids towards Christianity or towards Republican talking points. They don't like that kids are learning how to like others. They don't like that kids are being open-minded to gay people and other people that exist on this planet. They don't like it. They want their kids to be good Christians who hate everybody. You know what I'm saying? That's what they want. And they think that the schools are indoctrinating them.
Meanwhile, the Bible's supposed to tell you're supposed to love everybody.
Right. I mean, that's not the Christianity that they roll with.
Not at all.
The Christianity they rolls with is the Christianity that allowed slavery to happen because it's in the Bible. Mm-hmm. That's the Christianity they roll with. The Christianity that stones people. That's the one they're with. They're with the one that hurts anybody that looks different, kills them all, and wipes out the whole planet. That's the Christianity they with. I mean, I want to play the first video. It's education one. And we're just going to talk about some of the things what's up, Miss Brown? We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody's reaching out and speaking and talking in the chat. You guys' comments and ideas are important to us, so we appreciate it. But number one, let's go ahead and play this, man, and listen to this. We're going to play a little bit of it. It's kind of long. And they're just going to talk about some of the things that's going on.
Almost 70 years after the Supreme Court ordered equal educational opportunities for all children, a CBS News investigation has found many schools fail that test.
National investigative correspondent Stephen Stock uncovers one important reason: the school building gap.
But it's cold, so how can I focus? Can you please talk to the school to fix the toilets and to fix the building? So I have to tell you,
When I walk down this, I feel like I'm in a prison.
I know, right? Doesn't it? Why would your kids want to come here when it looks like you're in a prison?
Spend any time at all walking the halls of Baltimore's Franklin High with Cindy Smith.
No AC, you can feel it.
And you get a lesson in math that doesn't add up.
So this is a floor that's actually collapsing. Look along the wall. You can see it's dropped 2, maybe even 3 inches. This, folks, is an actual lab for high school students. People attend lab in this classroom.
We have a typical classroom, tack boards that are a mess, casework that needs to be replaced.
Why can't the school district do better?
Because we don't have enough money for it.
She's in charge of planning, design, and construction for Baltimore City Public Schools.
They're not fixing our school buildings, but they will fix white people's school buildings.
Dr. Richard Lofton shared with us the student feedback he gathered as part of his research project called the Nobody Asked Me campaign, documenting the impact of schools in Baltimore like this.
Wow. So you're saying the second floor is hotter than this floor?
Which he toured with us.
Wow. And I hope the people who are making decisions about education actually come into these schools and walk around and see what we've seen.
CBS stations across the country went into deteriorating schools in high poverty districts with low property tax bases. We found those districts invested on average 40% less money in buildings than richer school districts, with even larger disparities between majority white and majority black school districts. And many state governments make the disparity worse. Our analysis of federal data shows that on average, these states give majority white school districts almost 4 times more money for capital investments than majority black districts.
Minnesota,
we saw it in Maryland,
California,
Baltimore City School District, with a black population twice as high as Baltimore County School District and lower per capita income, got $19 million from local property taxes for capital spending last year. Baltimore County, $201 million. That breaks down to $1,800 per student in the wealthier, less diverse district versus Baltimore City, where it's $244. That's 7 times more.
Is this acceptable?
No, absolutely not. It's just what we have to live with.
I mean, our young people feel in many ways that they've been betrayed by society because of their voices are not being heard.
They should be feeling abandoned by the state because it's the state where the money is coming from.
Maryland already gives both the county and city school districts roughly the same amount for capital spending, $30 million. But the city school district says they need $230 million.
We can't provide the money we don't have and we don't receive. Like, how can I build this addition here if I don't get the money?
We're talking about a disparity that has roots in history.
A history that makes it hard to catch up, according to research headed by Johns Hopkins' Dr. Josh Sharfstein.
For decades, Baltimore has been disinvested. There have not been the same levels of investment in a city that is majority black than in the rest of the state. And the consequences of that are physically manifest in school buildings.
Maryland's legislature 3 years ago began trying to work on solutions.
We are investing in a more equitable system across the state of Maryland than almost any other state in the country.
Lawmakers did that by targeting $400 million for building and repairing schools in lower income and minority school districts, paid for in part by taking excess property taxes from wealthier districts and giving it to poorer districts, and by a sales tax on digital products like streaming and music. Does Maryland need to do more when it comes to funding these buildings?
Absolutely, Maryland has to do more, and we will, and we have, and we will. The plan that we've put forward is the next 10 years.
Those plans won't happen in time for these kids now.
The research shows that schools in worse condition are associated with more absenteeism of kids, more turnover of staff, more asthma attacks by the kids, and frankly, less progression academically.
In a school, you don't have potable water.
In the school, we do not have potable water.
That just blows my mind.
I know, right? Many of our pipes are so deteriorated that lead flows through that water, so that water is not drinkable.
So you can't drink the water.
You cannot drink the water.
why won't they take that money and put it into the piping system and fix the pipes?
Right.
Well, you might ask, why doesn't the federal government help? Because federal rules set up by Congress doesn't allow it. With the exception of special targeted grants, the feds don't provide a single cent towards building.
Now you hear that?
They don't provide a single cent.
Federal government doesn't do anything to help states when it comes to education and the money that's needed. The state is the main person. And Maryland is pretty much a pretty democratic state. And this is the time when you have to look at yourself. And I said it the other day, Republicans steady voting for Republicans, and they do a shitty job. And I have to say the same thing for Democrats. We steady voting for these fucking Democrats, and they doing a shitty fucking job.
Yep.
Now, that's one thing I always say, man, when it comes to this property tax and the way the money is allocated when it comes to education, it isn't fair. It isn't fair. By using the property tax, neighborhoods that are shitty and have low value when it comes to the homes, they're going to have worse schools because of the money that comes from their property taxes is trash. So the whole idea of doing this, they knew from the jump that this was going to be a way to keep the schools in the shitty areas shitty. Mm-hmm. The money should be divided from the top. All of it should just, every school should get the same amount of money, man. It shouldn't matter where you live. Everybody should get the money should go into a fucking pile, and then it's divided out from there. Why are you going to keep giving the best schools, the best places, all the money, and just shitting on the schools that have zero? Yeah, man, I have to agree. Republicans do intentionally sabotage, and then Dems, they do a bad job too. They do horrible jobs. Illinois being one of the places who gives 10 times more money to the rich areas than they do in the poor areas is true. Because when it comes to places like East St. Louis, when it comes to places like, I think it's called Cahokia Heights now, and all of these areas that are just lost, we got the west side and the south side in Illinois and Chicago. These schools and these students are just left. And there's money everywhere. And no one wants to do anything to save these areas. Mm-hmm. It's terrible.
Horrible.
Go ahead and start yours. I'm going to play the next video in a second. You could probably skip that, my bad. Mm-hmm. But you can do some of it.
But today we're going to talk a little bit about how President Trump is moving forward with his plans to dismantle the Department of Education, not eliminate it completely, because that would require Congress to step in, right? But he wants to gut it and shrink it and move power back to the states.
Yeah.
But as we just saw in Maryland, that doesn't work.
Right. 2
different neighborhoods, and the whole state's budget for education is $249 million. Yet this district gets 230, and this district only gets $19 million.
Right. Yeah, man. The federal government is supposed to step in the places where the states are lacking. It's insane that the federal government is going to sit here and watch all of these places fail, knowing that the way to keep crime down in all of these areas is to have high and good education for these kids so they can have a pipeline to go to jobs and they can stay out of the streets. But instead, we put no money in education. We talk about crime, but we know this is where crime starts, where people are lost. They're living in these areas that are horrid. And Democrats are doing a terrible job of fixing it. The only thing they have to fucking do is invest in the goddamn schools. Yeah, I mean, you're right, John. It is true. But also, we have horrible places in Democrat states that are just as bad. They may not be as bad as them, but we're looking at Maryland, and Maryland does a horrible job. I'm not going to give them a pass, man. We know that Republicans are the worst when it comes to education. But we also see that Democrats are not doing what they could do to make it better. Even here in Phoenix, we know that the state is ran by Republicans, but it should be a fight at all times to fund the schools. And the Democrats they're just losing, it's getting their ass kicked as the Republicans just do what they want. Now, we know that they have the state Senate and the state Congress here, and that means they have the power of the purse because they have the state Congress. They have the power in the Congress, so they can decide. And a lot of these places, the Republicans are the one, but there are still Democratic-ran states that are bad. And like I say, time and time again, using tax dollars, property tax, to fund schools is just flawed. It's just a flawed idea. And it's only going to make the richer schools richer. And the poor schools just keep getting shitted on. And that doesn't make any sense. We're supposed to be a country that looks out for those who are hurting. And if those schools and those communities are hurting and their schools are hurting, then we know that community is going to be hurting when it comes to violence and everything else. On the surface, some people hear that and think that sounds good. Less government, more local control. But we see that the local state government does nothing to make sure that these schools are succeeding. The federal government is supposed to be the bandage that makes sure that these things heal in these areas. That's what they're supposed to be there for.
Yep. But when you look at the actual data and you look at the states with the worst schools, then you look at the fraud in the voucher programs like we have here in Arizona. And when you look at who actually needs federal education funding, it raises serious questions.
Yeah, it's a lot of questions.
A whole lot.
A lot of questions, man. Republicans right now, they are attacking public education. They're putting in these voucher programs. They're in Texas. They're in Arizona. In Texas, they were not letting the Muslims use the voucher program. They were just taking their tax money, but they wouldn't let them use it. In Arizona, we got thousands and thousands of dollars being stolen, millions of dollars being stolen. People doing what they want to, going on trips, buying diamond rings. When that money was going to the schools, these Republicans was all over every dollar. Right now, we got so much fraud that's going through the school programs. Yeah, the schools didn't always do a perfect job when it came to budgeting and doing all these things, but these schools should all get the same amount of money. Oh, well, this school's in the rich area, so it gets millions because their property taxes is great. That school's in the bad area. They get no money because their property taxes is horrible. So they're just fucked. Womp womp. Like, this is not working. It's not working. We have to do something better. Why do we keep voting for these people? And these people don't care about education at all. We're watching the education fail. America as a whole is falling down when it comes to our education level compared to others. Most people can't even read at a fucking 6th grade level. And we're just sitting here watching Trump dismantle what little protections when it comes to education we have. Now we're going to start with some facts. The Trump administration is not technically abolishing the Department of Education because that would require the act of Congress, like she said. But what they are doing is dismantling it piece by piece through executive action, staff cuts, budget cuts, moving programs to other agencies, reducing civil rights enforcement, and then shifting power to the states. Right now, the Department of Education has roughly 4,000 employees. The plan is to cut that down to about 2,000. That means fewer investigators, fewer auditors, fewer people are monitoring discrimination cases, fewer people are overseeing the federal education funding, and one of the biggest moves is transferring the $1.6 trillion student loan portfolio to other agencies, including possibly the Small Business Administration that could create chaos because student loans are already complicated, already delayed, already mismanaged. Now imagine splitting that system across multiple agencies. That's not efficiency. That's confusion, and confusingly usually hurts the people with the least power, the poor people. Students, low-income families, first-generation college kids, disabled veterans, the people federal programs were designed to fucking help will get hurt the most.
Yep. And one of the biggest parts of the Department of Education most people never really think about is the Office of Civil Rights. That office investigates discrimination within our schools. Race discrimination, gender discrimination, disability rights, special education violations, harassment, unequal funding. And when schools break that law, the federal government can step in.
Mm-hmm.
Not the state, not the district, the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And now that that office is losing some of its staff, that means that we'll have fewer investigations on these topics, fewer cases, fewer protections, and that makes us ask, who benefits when civil rights enforcements get weaker? Because history tells us the answer. It's not the students, and it's not the parents. It's not the communities. It's the people who benefit are the ones who don't want the oversight.
Now, a lot of people like to say things like, oh, education starts at home. Now, you just heard what I said. The average American reads at a 6th grade level. You think that we want these people educating the future? This last generation is the first generation that is dumber than their parents. We're not doing a good job, man. All these people want to homeschool their kids. They coming out dumb as fuck. We're not making engineers out of these homeschooled kids, man. Now, I did hear some stories of a couple of people who have done well and their kids have done well. And it was some black kids who done well from homeschooling. But their parent was an educator and had a history of education. Now, you think we're going to teach the future with a bunch of fucking 6th grade readers? How smart do you think these people going to come out when they're learning from people who can't even read? As we try to tell the educators we're smarter than them. Black Republicans are in love with a president who hates them and a white male base that hates them as well. The election is over. They know, hey, you're right. MAGA, you know what MAGA, how MAGA does it. All minorities should check themselves and look in the mirror who is supporting this mess. But like I said, man, we the people can stop it. We want the fox to guard the hen house. Yeah, pretty much. U.S. aid saved lives, feed little kids with empty stomachs. They saw the U.S. flag on that bag of rice and remember that. You're right. I 100% agree. But we have cruel people running the government right now.
That don't want kids to be fed.
They don't care. They don't care how many people are affected by the money that we stop sending to those places. They don't care. These are the people who, oh, now we want to free Iran. We want to free those people. We care about those people that's like, shut up. No, the fuck you don't. If you cared, you wouldn't have tore up U.S. aid. You don't care. Stop acting like you care. You just want to bomb something. That's all it's about. You just want to kill people and bomb people. You're cruel. You do not care about people. Stop acting like you do. You celebrated when U.S. aid was torn apart and they told you how many people were going to starve and you clapped. Now you want us to believe that you care about the Iranian people? The fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. We know the truth. Y'all are cruel people who thrive on others being hurt. See, the real goal is to return the power to the states, but the states have always had the power, like I always said. The federal government is supposed to be the one that feels the holes that the states can't feel. The official argument is simple. States should control education, as which they do. Local control, parent rights, school choice, dumbass shit, less bureaucracy, and on paper, that sounds reasonable until you look at the numbers, because the states that pushed hardest for less federal oversight are often the sites with the worst education system. And that's the Republican states. Now, the Democrat states have some bad things too. And I've talked about those things. We ran a video talking about Baltimore. And we look at the rankings. Recent studies show that students in states that lean Democratic consistently score higher in math and reading tests. 4th grade, 8th grade, high school, college readiness, and across the board, the biggest difference is funding. And we have this problem, like I said, in Democrat states too. U.S. aid was not a scam, was not fraud. Stop it. We knew exactly where the money was going. Why wasn't anybody arrested for the fraud then, Mr. Pat Yeager? Why wasn't anybody pointed out for the money that was misused? No one went to jail. No one was pointed at for fraud. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're just listening to talking points from Trump and Elon Musk. And we saw the videos from those guys from Doge who was out there making these decisions. How they was making these decisions. And it was horrid. And it had nothing to do with fraud. New York has better schools than New York. I'm going to guess is probably in the top 10 in education. Can you look that up for me? But I'm going to guess New York is top 10. That's just my guess. But the states that spend more per student perform better. States that spend less perform worse. That's not politics, that's data. And here's the part people don't like to hear. Many conservative states rely heavy on federal education money. Title I funding, special education fund, what are they?
It says actually Massachusetts is consistently ranked as having the best education system in the U.S.
I didn't say they was the best.
Leading in both K-12 public performance and overall attainment. And they also said that it boasts the highest percentage.
What's it got to do with New York? I'm talking about New York here.
College degrees and top students on their scores.
What is the ranking for New York? That was the only thing we were talking about. But anyway, Title I funding, special education funding, low-income school funding, rural school funding. So the same states that say we don't want federal control are also the states that need the most federal money. They're hypocrites. Let's go ahead and pay education too, man, and run down some of the more things that we're seeing here.
Did you know that harmful opportunity gaps in school funding persist across our nation, making it harder for many students to succeed? The Education Rights Institute is committed to closing these gaps and ensuring each and every student enjoys the opportunity to attend a high-quality school.
How we fund our schools sets the foundation for their success.
Although it was once debated in the scholarly field, researchers now agree that money matters in schools. And when money is spent well, more school funding has a positive impact on student achievement, as measured by test scores, graduation rates, college enrollment, and lifetime earnings.
Opportunity gaps for students related to school funding track along lines of poverty, race, and geography.
Research estimates that schools serving students living in poverty need nearly double the financial resources compared to schools in more affluent neighborhoods. Yet, according to research from the Education Law Center, in 26 states, students in districts with greater poverty receive the same or less state and local funding than students living with less poverty.
These funding gaps are even more troubling in light of the end of pandemic relief funds in 2024. This will cause many districts to experience a dramatic fiscal cliff that will hit districts with the greatest student poverty the hardest.
Not only that, gaps in funding for students of color are even greater than for students living in poverty. The Education Trust estimates that districts serving predominantly students of color receive 16% less in funding from state and local sources compared to predominantly white districts. This racial disparity is over 3 times the estimated gap between high and low poverty districts.
Research also supports that schools in rural and urban areas aren't always funded at the level needed for success.
While states and localities have generally increased school funding over the last decade, over half of our states decreased their contributions to rural schools since 2019.
Additionally, the National Center for Education Statistics reports that urban schools in 2022 received less money per student than rural, suburban, or town schools when adjusted for inflation.
These trends are concerning because both urban and rural schools are more expensive to operate than suburban or town schools due to such factors as increased costs related to transportation, older infrastructure, and attracting and retaining teachers.
Together, we can close these harmful school funding gaps and ensure each and every student attends a school with the funding they need to succeed.
There's more to know. Check out our website, follow us on social media, and learn all the ways you can benefit from our valuable research.
Now you see, the more money you spend per student, the better outcomes you get from those kids. Mm-hmm. And that's the number one thing we're saying. It's like we said, we had our look up. New York is in the top 10 when it comes to education. And they are one of the top spenders per student. And that matters. That makes a big difference in the outcome for these kids. If you want good outcomes for your kids, you have to spend money. To think that you're going to spend less and less and less, and we see from the Republican states, they don't want to spend any money. They don't want to spend money on their schools. Then they take the most money from the federal government, then sit around saying, oh, we want less federal government in our schools. Well, stop taking the money. See how it goes for you. Mm-hmm. Now, all these Republican places that need this money, what would they do if this shit dries up?
I don't know, but let's go ahead and talk about Arizona because honestly, that's where we live. So that's the education system that we see. We see it. We are under the direction of Republicans here. And the numbers are very embarrassing. In a 2024 national ranking, Arizona's public schools ranked 51st.
Holy crap.
That's dead last. Behind every other state, including Washington, D.C. And yet Arizona is one of the loudest states pushing school vouchers. We're pushing school choice. And we're also pushing less federal oversight. So we have to question, if local control works so well, why is Arizona ranked last? Why do we keep getting education budget cuts? Mm-hmm. Why do we keep expanding the voucher program? Why do we keep saying that government is the problem? And when the problem is we refuse to fund the schools. You cannot starve the system and then say that the system doesn't work. You put into it, you invest into it, you get a return on your investment, right? Things do better, they improve. That's not what we have here in Arizona. Tom Horn, the other day in a video, just said that Arizona public schools need to, quote unquote, compete better so they could improve. How does that work?
Right.
When we're competing against people who are homeschooling their kids.
Yeah, I don't get it, man. So let's talk about these vouchers, man, because this is where the conversation gets real. Supporters call them education saving accounts. They say it gives parents choice. They say it helps families escape bad schools. But audits in Arizona and Florida and also raggly-ass Texas are showing something else. Fraud, misspending, no oversight. Investigators in Arizona found fake students being created to collect money. These people don't care about education. They just like it that they're putting money in their fucking pockets.
Ghost kids.
It's craziness. Now, we had a system in place that was already working, has been working for I don't know how long, but they want to destroy public education so bad. They'll do anything. This school choice shit, these people look at it as something good. They think that they're winning because school choice, but only thing you're doing is leaving behind the schools that are struggling. and taking your tax dollars from these schools, and then they end up shutting down. You go to the good school and, oh yeah, pump that school up. That school's doing great, but every other school is dying. And the kids who can't afford to move around or get driven to a different school, they're going to suffer. It's a very selfish system that reminds me of white flight and everything else that happens in this goddamn country. When they don't want to deal with things that are getting bad, instead of fixing them, they just fucking run.
Mm-hmm.
The shit is disgusting. Arizona, like I said, they found fake students, ghost students being to collect money, people inventing children, people inventing disabilities, people stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars to put into their fucking pocket from the fucking education system. And that shit's just the beginning, man. Taxpayer money was spent on diamond rings, lingerie, espresso machines, Disney tickets, ski passes, golf equipment, toys, over $7 million on Legos. As we hand our money to these people who are homeschooling children and making up kids and doing what the fuck they want to. The people who say they hate fraud so much. This voucher system is leaking fraud. It's built on fraud. Shit is ridiculous. And over $7 million on fucking Legos. One family spent $30,000 on a Lego set. Mm-hmm. That's not school choice. That's free money. And a 2026 report found that 22% of transactions were for prohibited items that they were not supposed to buy.
Another family spent $18,000 on Legos, in addition to the family that spent $30,000 on Legos.
22%. That's not a mistake. That's a system with accountability, man. 22% fraud.
Yep.
Or more.
Or more. And the cost to the state and the budget? Arizona expanded the vouchers. Originally, the program was supposed to cost about $65 million. $65 million originally is what they planned on this program spending per year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's close to $1 billion per year. That expansion helped create a $1.4 billion budget shortfall in our state. Florida found similar problems. Hundreds of millions of dollars was missing. Thousands of students were unaccounted for. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Most of the voucher users were already in public schools. Private schools. They were already in private schools. Up to 70% of the students using the vouchers were already in a private school. That means that most of the taxpayers are not helping the poor families use these vouchers.
Mm-hmm.
They're subsidizing the wealthy families to use these vouchers. So the wealthy families, they already was able to afford sending their kid to the public, to this private school. Now they're just getting this money back as a reimbursement, and they're just saying, oh, we could just do whatever we want to do with the money now.
Right.
But then we have to wonder why the public school system struggling so much.
I mean, it's not a question. We already know. Like always, we're trying to subsidize for the rich. Like people who already have the money to put their kids in private school, why are we doubling back and giving them money? It doesn't make any sense. It's the dumbest system. But Republicans, they think that they're fixing the system. Taking the money from the poor schools, and all of our schools are shutting down in Arizona right now. Mm-hmm. They're taking all the money from these schools and they're giving it to these people who are homeschooling and sending their kids to private schools. It doesn't make any sense. If you have the funds to homeschool your kid, you don't need any kickbacks. If you have the money to send your kid to fucking private school, you don't need any kickbacks. You especially don't need our fucking dollars going to our tax dollars going to your shit. Doesn't make any sense. We can't hold a homeschool teacher to account. We can't say, what are you teaching the kid? What are you doing? What's going on? Oh, well, this is my kid. Well, cool. Well, you don't need our tax dollars. We can't find out how smart are the homeschooling kids. What tests are they doing? There isn't a standardized test for the homeschool kids that they have to come to a place and make sure that they are doing something. We don't know what they're learning. They could be teaching them that the first president was Scooby-Doo. They don't fucking know. Like, dog, this is terrible. It's a terrible system. And Arizona is last in education for a reason. They don't want to put any money into the system. A lot of tax money is being misused so bad, USA government literally could provide health care and college education with all the money being stolen, and it's all middle-class citizens' tax dollar. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. We could pay for fucking health care. We can have free education. We used to. We can have tax health care universal system where we play into the system and everybody gets care. We already pay into this system. We're paying for Medicaid and Medicare out of every one of our checks. Then we can't even use it till we get to a certain age. Why are we paying for something that we can't fucking use? Then we got to pay it on the back end. I got to pay for insurance to some fucking insurance company who won't even cover everything I got fucking going on. It's so dumb that these people are for this stupid ass system. It makes zero sense. We pay Medicare, we pay Medicaid, then we got to pay insurance. We got to pay the other doctor. They're getting money like we're paying for healthcare like 5 times. It makes zero sense. I got a job, I got to pay for my healthcare. Medicaid and Medicare is automatically coming out of my check. Why isn't that money going to fucking a universal system? It should be a system for everyone to be able to be taken care of. And we don't have to sit here and watch people go into debt because they got sick.
People shouldn't have to lose their house and car.
Everything, their whole livelihood because
Just
they
because
can't
they got
afford
sick.
they can't afford to have an operation.
Right.
This is bad. When you give the majority of your tax dollars to the defense industry for the past 75 years, this is the education system. Yeah, man. When you think that defense and war is number one and education and healthcare doesn't matter, then that's the type of things that you get out of, that's the system you get. This dude here, dog. Anyway, the solution: pull the plug on TV, get a library card, cut the media cord, look outside. Nature is. How is man? I mean, dude, come on, man. That is not the solution. I have to 100% agree with you. Disagree. 100%. Yeah, I mean, you think you're just gonna educate yourself? Everybody can just educate themselves and teach themselves. Come on, man. What are you talking about? A universal healthcare system. What do you mean? Universal healthcare? You don't know what that is? You're really asking me what the fuck am I talking about? You don't know what universal healthcare is, my guy? Oh. Medicare is a Medicare is paid by everyone. We all pay for Medicare. All of us are paying for Medicare and Medicaid.
Yes, we all pay into Medicare and Medicaid.
But we can't use it until we get 65. Which I was saying, it doesn't make any sense is what I'm saying.
No, I'm just asking them, how does us paying into Medicare and Medicaid all of our life, but we're not able to use it until we're 65 or retired, how does that make that a universal health system? It's not
a universal health system. It's just a system for people when they get older. And it's supposed to help, but it obviously doesn't help because we still have people get older and they're homeless. We got old people losing everything in America.
Yep.
Right, and Social Security. Why are we paying into Social Security? And then most people don't. It doesn't even do anything.
And then if you pass away, your family can only get a $255 benefit.
Man, that shit is garbage. My mother worked her ass off her whole life.
Paid into Social Security her whole life.
Couldn't get none of that fucking money. None of us could get it. Oh, well, it's so many fucking rules and shit, man. You can't get that money. everybody should be able to get the money that's paid for, that your parents paid for, and work their ass off paying into Social Security. Dude, I didn't say what percentage that a defense accounts for. What are you talking about? Didn't say that. You're just making up shit. I didn't say what percentage of the budget the defense counted. I said we spend too much money on defense, and that money could be used for health care and education. I never said what percentage it was. This is the part that amazes me, though. We keep voting for these people who say education doesn't need funding. We keep voting for people who say federal oversight is bad. We keep voting for people who cut school budgets, and then we complain when schools don't work. You can't say education matters and then elect people who don't believe in public education. Mm-hmm. You can't say kids and the future and then vote for policies that take money away from schools. You can't say America should lead the world and then underfund the one thing that makes countries strong, education.
Yep, exactly.
Now, how much was the defense budget? How much is it?
The national defense spending typically accounts for 13 to 15% of the national federal budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
5% off
but
there, buddy.
we still spend more money on defense than any country in the fucking world.
We spent $874 billion in defense spending in 2024. And the total federal spending for the fiscal year of 2024 was $6.75 trillion estimated. Mm-hmm. So it looks like a good majority of that went to defense spending.
Mm. Defense spending that we spend in America is just way too much money. Because we want to go around dropping bombs and killing people. Educating our populace. Mm-hmm. Doing something to make sure that people are staying out of trouble and they have a way to get a road to a better life. And we're not doing that. No one said that most of our money goes to the, I mean, dude. So, what happens if the Department of Education is gutted?
Yeah, if the Department of Education keeps getting dismantled, here's what could really happen. Less funding for poor schools, less protection for our disabled students, less enforcement on discrimination laws, and more differences between rich and poorer districts. You'll start to see those vast differences, more confusion with our student loans. We won't know who we need to pay, how much we need to pay, when we need to pay. Those types of things will cause confusion. More fraud within the voucher program as if it doesn't already exist. More political control over our curriculum, and less national standards, which actually means that your education depends on the zip code that you live in. And that's not equal opportunity. This is rolling the dice. Pick of the lottery. Mm. Who got the lottery numbers this week?
It doesn't matter what the purpose of education was for some people. Yes, you should have education should point people to a certain direction. If factory workers at that time were bringing people out of poverty. Right now, you have an education. Education should be going towards STEM because right now, engineering, mechanicals, those are the people who are going to make the money. So we should be pushing our populace towards that direction. Right now, where I work, it's a whole bunch of Indians there because they know how to program. And they're pushing their kids into programming. They're pushing their kids into it in fucking grade school. They're pushing in programming. So they know more about programming than us. And we have, man, dog, everybody in the programming department is Indian right now. They're killing us. Americans aren't even getting the jobs. Now, I don't know if it's just because what's going on with the price or how much money, but a lot of people are coming from India, taking all these engineering jobs, and they're doing everything that they can to make sure they are educated when it comes to programming. They know it, man. They know it like the back of their hand, and we're doing nothing. to educate our people, to make sure they know how to build the programs that's going to run AI, that's going to run all these machines and robots. If we're doing nothing to prepare our kids, they will be without jobs. These are the things that are real. You have to be able to, man, the programming industry is not cooked, my bro. You think it's cooked, but it's not. AI is not going to replace all the programmers. You're going to need humans. All the programming for robots, all that shit, it's going to need humans. I disagree with you. Even Bill Gates disagreed with that the other day. Programming will still be there. Code writing will still be there. Because there are certain things that these robots are still going to need to learn, and they're always going to be learning more. And if you have the programming ability, you're going to be able to teach AI and be able to put in these programs and code these programs.
Someone can agree that vocational schools are needed.
Yeah, vocational schools are needed, man. But the schools are losing the vocational schools because of funding.
Yep.
They're losing it because of the funding. Yeah, man. Tech skills are needed. Tech skills are needed more today than any other time. These AI machines are going to be doing a lot of the work, and we're going to have to be able to fix these machines,
when they
program these machines, and be able to speak the language that these machines will be able to speak in the future. And if we're not doing these things, we're going to get passed up fast, because the Asian populace is doing everything they can to learn these things, and we're doing nothing. Have you coded? Yeah, I have coded with AI before, and it fucked up. It made a lot of mistakes. A lot of the coding was wrong, so you have to be able to know exactly what code you need and what coding is and what programming is needed, because AI makes mistakes, and AI is not perfect yet. You can sit around and act like AI is all this, but AI has issues, and there's a lot of things that needs to be fixed when it comes to AI. And you have to know what things are incorrect, what coding is incorrect, what programming is not supposed to be there. So that's the things that people sit here and act like, oh my goodness, well, the AI has all type bleeps. It's things that are wrong with it. AI is not perfect yet. I didn't code anything. I built my website, you fucking idiots. You don't know shit about me. I am an engineer. Do you know that? You don't know shit, dude. I get paid to be an engineer daily, weekly. You don't know nothing. You're just talking out the side of your fucking neck. How about our grandparents help with the skills we need? Survival skills are important, caring for the earth and growing food to animal husbands. I don't know if those things are going to help in the future, when the future is going to be digital. The future is digital. So I don't know if all of those things are going to be skills that are going to be needed. I don't need to lie about me. Man, dude, I said we spend a lot of money in fucking defense. We spend more than any country in the world. A little of that money could go to something else. We don't have to spend 15% of our budget on defense. Stop trying to bring it up, you idiot. Damn, you're dumb as fuck, dude. He's a fucking dumbass, man. Father, son, you're so dumb. Every fucking episode, here you come with a bunch of dumb shit. But anyway, between rich and poor districts, we see the funding is always bad, man. It's more confusion with student loans, more fraud in voucher programs, more political control over curriculum because these people are mad about critical race theory, and less national standards, which means your education depends on your zip code, which I just 100% agree with. Just because you are poor does not mean that you should automatically get bad education because you were born in a place that have poor people. That is not your fucking fault, and that shouldn't automatically equals bad education. But that's what happens in a country that is one of the richest in the world, and we shouldn't have these issues. Your zip code shouldn't automatically mean you get bad education. And that's not equal opportunity. That's a lottery. If you're not born in the right area, then you're fucked. So let's play Education 3, man, before we go to the next part.
When I was 23 years old, I took a job as a teacher in the Beaufort County School District and taught the 5th through 8th grades on Daufuskie Island, South Carolina for a year. I wrote about the extraordinary experiences I had in my book, The Water is Wide. What I found on this island that I called Yamacraw shook me to the core of my being. 7 of my students could not recite the alphabet. 3 children could not spell their names. 18 children thought Savannah, Georgia was the largest city in the world. Savannah was the only city any of the kids could name. 4 children could not add 2 plus 2. 5 children did not know their birth dates. 4 children could not count to 10. Half of them were incapable of expressing even the simplest thought on paper. 3/4 of them could barely spell even the most elementary words. 3 of them could not write their names. I had stumbled into another century. Those children needed and deserved so much more from the educational system of that era. If they lived in other parts of South Carolina, they might have gone on to become scientists, engineers, scholars, artists, and writers. Sadly, very little has changed in the rural school districts of South Carolina, clustered along Interstate 95 from North Carolina to Georgia. Another generation of South Carolinians has grown up in places like Daufuskie Island, never knowing the promise of America. Because the water is even wider today, it's no wonder that 8 rural school districts have sued the state of South Carolina for the resources they need to provide their students an adequate education in a world of change. I admire their courage, and I hope they win their fight. This documentary is their story, and they tell it well. I ended The Waters Wide with these words. Of the Yamacraw children, I can say very little. I don't think I changed the quality of their lives significantly or altered the inexorable fact that they were imprisoned by the very circumstance of their birth. I felt so much beauty in my year with them. It hurt very badly to leave them. For them, I leave a single prayer, that the river is good to them in the crossing. That is still my prayer.
The plaintiffs in this case are suing the state of South.
Now, these schools have to sue South Carolina just so they can get the funding that they need to run a decent education building. A decent school where kids can come in and learn and not have to worry about the air conditioner not working, the ceiling tiles falling on their head, and tripping into the holes in the floors throughout the school. In a country that's this rich, when we have people like Elon Musk, who has $1 trillion, almost, he's headed there. He'll be there soon. And we're okay with him having $1 trillion. And we're also okay with our schools looking like they're from the 19th century. It's ridiculous, man. This is not the way this country is supposed to work. Now, I'll say it again. Everybody, what's my idea? I said it again. I do not think that property taxes should be the only way that schools are funded. If property taxes is going to be the funding, then that should go into one pile and everyone should get the same amount of money, or the amount of money that is needed for that school to run. Now, we know the inner cities, they need a little bit more money than the rural schools would need to run because of busing and other things that make the issues a little bigger, because we have more people here. Then they should get a little bit more money. We should be allocating funds for what's needed. We should be running things by what's needed, not just our thoughts and feelings, not just what we want it to be. That's in Arizona. They don't want any money to go to the schools. So they want to take it all away. Now we're 51st in education. We pass laws. Let's pay our teachers more. The Republicans say no, they take it off. They don't want that.
And then they just recently walked away from the table that would provide an extension to that budget that would have
Gave them more
teachers
money.
paid.
Right. They don't want to pay the teachers. I mean, these guys, their whole mission is to create a system of ignorance. All of us. They don't want us to be able to read. I mean, I don't understand how that helps America. But I mean, I guess they can win elections because this last election, all these idiots voting for Trump, all these uneducated people listening to Joe Rogan and all these podcasters telling them who to fucking vote for. You're right, man, Violet Light. Teachers do not get the respect they deserve in America. We shit on teachers. We think we know more than teachers. We got people with a 6th grade education telling teachers what they know, how much they know, and they know more, and they're better than them. It's ridiculous. And like I said, man, there's Democratic areas also that are doing the same thing, and they're doing a horrible job in Illinois, Maryland, California, where these places where they're not getting the funds, they are doubling down, tripling down on giving the money to the good areas and saying fuck the areas that are bad.
They said, should we hold accountable the Lottery Commission for the lack of funding? Approximately 23 states currently earmark their lottery profits specifically to fund public schools.
That's
out of 45 states, including DC.
Only 17. But
23.
like 23. But
out of 50.
That's so almost half the states. But regardless, that's a dumb way to fund the states also, the schools also. What if people stop buying lottery tickets?
Right.
What if your area don't buy as many lottery tickets? Like, that's dumb. It's a dumb way to fucking fund the schools.
Alternative funding sources could include federal grants, like Title I or IDEA, corporate partnerships. So the companies in the communities investing into the schools, alumni donations, meaning that you've attended the school, so now you want the school to continue to do better, so you're going to donate some of your money towards that school. Or the schools could rent out their facilities for other events and things like that. And they also say that another alternative could be an educational technology partnership. So again, companies in the community investing into the schools and providing the schools with money that help them do better and help them improve.
Now, hey, you're right, Violet Light. California's system is way better than the Republican systems. But I'm a person that just can't see it from the Republican side. I have to see it from the side of the kids in California who are suffering in bad schools, because there are bad schools in California. There should be no schools left behind. No school should have problems like this. And just because the school is a black area or a poor area, it shouldn't mean that they shouldn't get the same amount of funding and care that a rich area gets.
Exactly.
Now, if we cared about every school equally, every school was made sure to get the funding that they needed to run their schools, instead of looking at the school and saying, oh, you didn't meet your budget. Look, man, what are you doing to see how much money this school needs to run? Because I would think that every school has a different system and a different monetary amounts or needs for their school. So everyone has to do something to make sure that these schools are seeing the promise that they should see. This isn't about Democrats or Republicans. This is about priorities. We know that Republican schools are worst. We know that. But this is a rich country, man. And this country that should invest in the education that's going to succeed. When you look at the world scale, we are falling down on the rankings. We have seen countries that cut education fall behind, and that is what we're doing right now. It's that simple. You can't build a strong economy with weak schools. You can't compete globally with underfunded classrooms. You can't expect innovation without education. They said that America, Trump is bragging, we've always came up with the best ideas. We've came up with the best ideas because
we're educated.
we were educating our populace. We had people that were bringing, that was creating ideas. We're bringing out the best scientists in the world, the best engineers.
That's a good solution. Corporations could be taxed more that contributes to the education in their states.
I agree.
That's a good alternative.
They always getting fucking tax breaks.
Always.
Yep. Always. But you can't expect this innovation to come from brokenness, man, and underfunded schools. It's not going to happen. And yet we keep acting like education is optional. Like this is something that we don't have to do, or maybe not. We have to fund our schools. If we want to stop violence, it starts in grade school. We don't want people out shooting up everyone. You don't want gangs. You don't want all these things. You're always talking about black people and the 13% do all this crime, 50% of the crime. Y'all love to say that shit. But when we say, hey, what are we doing to stop these things? What are we doing to make these kids' lives easier so they don't have to go into a life of crime? Where you don't have to over-police their fucking neighborhoods. You don't have to fucking get military tactics to police your fucking neighborhoods. You don't need tanks because you fucking educated the people and gave them an opportunity to make their lives better. You make their lives shitty from day one, then you wonder why, and the year 25, 21, they don't have any options. This is fucking normal stuff that people should understand.
Yep. But we want to hear from you guys in the audience. Do you think that the Department of Education should be dismantled? Or do you think that states should control all of the state's education funding? Or do you think that federal oversight is sometimes necessary for these schools?
So yeah, man, drop your comments, share the video, subscribe to Habari, because conversations like this don't happen on mainstream news, man. This happens with normal people, us talking and trying to figure out ways that's going to make the system better. We are the ones that make it better.
Don't forget to become a member. It's also an option.
Yes, definitely become a member, man. We don't have any, so please somebody become a member. But yeah, we got a couple more stories to go here, man. Part 2, we're gonna talk about the Iran war, media control, FCC war spending, and go ahead. Oh no. I don't know what that's about. But yeah, man, it's tough out here, man, and with this war going on and the lies and the movement that's going on right now, they're not really telling us what's going on, who's doing what. We're just sitting here watching money being spent. I think they asked for $200 billion more.
Yeah.
Now we had somebody fighting on here
No, I
trying
thought it
to
was
tell
$400 billion.
No, $200 billion.
Okay.
Somebody was fighting with us talking about the war in Ukraine with so much more money. Now you can't say that anymore because it just doubled the amount that Ukraine had. Ukraine, I think we said it was 100-something billion, right? This is already 200 billion on top of the 12 billion that they've already spent. $200 billion more that the Trump needs to spend on this stupid ass war. That can fund the education system. That amount of money could stop poverty in our fucking country. And this is from the people who screamed and yelled talking about no more wars. Now they're all, yeah, war. The weirdest bunch ever. Can't stand with anything you say. The goalpost always moves. So in the first half, we talked about education, the Department of Education being dismantled, and how federal oversight is being stripped away. Now we're going to move to the second half of the episode, and This may be even bigger because while schools are being cut, the war budget is exploding. Exploding. The White House is now asking for $200 billion. $200 billion. $200 billion. $200 billion more after the war before the war in Iran. And at the same time, the administration is tightened control over the media narrative, using the FCC and the federal pressure to push news organizations to fall in line. Pete Hegseth kicking people out of the Pentagon. He said, I can't wait till the Ellisons take over, because I can't wait till they take over CNN and they can stop saying bad stuff about us. These people are crazy. So today we're going to talk about how much the Iran war is costing, why the spending keeps going up, why Congress wasn't fully consulted, because they're just supposed to be the part of the purse. They're supposed to make the decisions of the purse. But what's going on? They need more money, though. They can start war without asking Congress, do whatever they want to, but then, hey, we need more money. The Republican Party is showing no backbone. They're not doing anything about it. No one was consulted on these fucking war. And the only thing they care about is controlling the media. And that's becoming part of their strategy.
It is. So let's go ahead and start with the numbers. The Pentagon says that the war cost $11.3 billion in the first week alone. 1 week, $11.3 billion. Now the White House is asking Congress for another $200 billion in military funding. Remember, last one was only $188 billion. Now we're at $200 billion. Keep up. On top of the existing defense budget. On top of the money that we already sent to Ukraine. On top of the regular Pentagon budget. The current military budget is already at $838 billion a year. And now they wanted another $200 billion? That means that we're getting close to $1 trillion a year on defense spending. And the justification is simple. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said it clearly. It takes money to kill bad guys. That's the quote. That's what he said.
Yeah, they crazy.
That's not diplomacy. That's not negotiations or strategy. Money to kill bad guys. That's all we need. Money to kill the bad guys. That's it. That should tell you the mindset that this administration has. We just want your money, the taxpayers' money, so we can go over here and kill a bunch of people that we think are bad guys.
Now, the White House says the money is needed to replenish weapons, ammunition, and equipment because the war with Iran, plus sending weapons to Ukraine, plus maintaining bases around the world has drained supplies, stockpiles. We also know the war is expensive because modern weapons cost insane amounts of money. One F-35 fighter jet costs up to $77 million is how much they cost. And one of those jets already had to make an emergency landing after being hit during a combat mission over Iran. That's one plane, $77 million. And that's just the plane, not the pilot, not the missiles, not the fuel, not the maintenance, not the carrier, not the base. War in 2026 is not cheap. And the most expensive thing the government does is war. It costs a lot of money, man.
Yep. And here's where the politics come in, because some members of Congress are actually angry. Not just the Democrats. Some of the Republicans are angry over this too, because the strikes on Iran started without full congressional approval. And now Congress is being asked to pay for it after the fact. That's crazy. One lawmaker said it best. If you want me there for the landing, make sure I'm there for the takeoff.
That's real.
That means don't start a war and then come ask me for money later because you need it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how the Constitution is supposed to work. Congress controls the pocketbook. They control the funding. Congress is the one that is supposed to declare war. But more and more presidents launch military action first and then ask questions later.
Yep.
And that's not how we're supposed to do things.
When you look back to George Bush and his weapons of mass destruction, and when George Bush decided to wage war against Iraq, he went to Congress. That's why Congress said we're in war, and that precedent was stood until Obama. And because Congress put forth that we are in war, the arguments of purse and the money that was needed was already discussed. How much money was needed, Congress already put that in front, so you could be able to spend whatever you need. It doesn't make any sense that this guy wants to go to war without Congress and then wants to say, hey, we need more money. Doesn't make sense. War doesn't just cost money in the military budget. It affects the whole economy. We're all seeing oil prices go up. Shipping costs are going to be added to that because they're going to say, hey, the gas is higher. So now your shipments are higher because it costs us more to ship your product. We already seen these things during COVID as these things happen because of stock and needing stock and not be able to get stock, products sitting on the fucking ocean and not being able to get brought into the country. So we all have to pay double and triple for the prices because of these things are happening. We understand this. Inflation is going up. Interest rates are staying high. Regular people are paying for this fucking war. Now, when it's a war that people can stand behind and we really care about what's going on and the reason why we in war, people will take whatever. During World War II, everyone stepped up to help the government for we can be able to save the world against these Nazis who are horrible. That's not the same thing that we're going to right now. Iran isn't killing people. They're killing their own people. They definitely killed their own people, 30,000 of their own people. And they are wrong. We understand that. But they are not doing the things that we were seeing the Nazis doing. So people are not behind this war as they would have been in World War II. Mm-hmm. Just like Vietnam, people weren't behind that because it didn't make sense. Why are we fucking with these people?
Right. Aunt Banks said Trump's said that he made the U.S. $17 trillion in tariffs. So why isn't he using that when $200 billion is nothing when you have $17 trillion that you've made in tariff money? Why not use that to fund the war?
Yeah,
I agree.
I mean, the tariff money is caught up in a lot of bull right now, and a lot of people are suing to get their money back that they collected during those tariffs. So I don't know if he can use those funds because those funds are caught up in a lot of legal accusations and actions, and I don't know what's going to happen with those funds. A lot of companies are suing to get their money back. Mm-hmm. The average home has spent $1,000 more because of tariffs. Do we get our money back? Probably not. We get fucked.
Right.
But a lot of these companies are suing to get their money back because the Supreme Court said that these tariffs were put in place illegally. So I don't know if they can use that money. But I think that if you need this money to wage your war, you should have went to Congress in the first place. Mm-hmm. And that's the number one thing. He should have went to Congress in the first place. They should have had a vote. Then they can decide to give them whatever money they need for this war. But that's not the way he went. The Federal Reserve already said the war is creating economic uncertainty. And when there's uncertainty, prices rise. Gas goes up, food goes up, rent goes up, insurance goes up. So when the government spends $200 billion more, you don't see the bill directly, but you pay for it because the global economics of this problem and this issue and this war is going to make everyone on the globe suffer more, and even Americans to suffer the biggest cost. And every time you fill the tank, every time you go to the store, every time your rent goes up, war always comes back to the consumer and the people.
Mm-hmm. But cutting social programs and increasing war spending is not the way to go. This is the part that people need to actually pay attention to, because at the same time, the White House wants $200 billion for war. They cut funding for other things. They cut funding for health subsidies that would cost about $35 billion. Food aid costs about $100 billion. Foreign aid cuts saved about $175 billion. Education funding gets cut, but war spending keeps going up.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Right.
Everything else is getting a cut across the board. Why isn't the war funding getting cut?
Mm-hmm.
We always have money for war. We never have money for our schools. We don't have money for healthcare. We don't even have money for housing. But we always somehow manage to have money for bombs. That's not an accident. That's a priority.
Yeah.
And the wrong one.
Because the priority for America is murder and killing, not taking care of the populace, not taking care of the people, not making sure the people have health care. Bombing other people and killing other people is more of a priority than making sure that we are fucking healthy. Now, let's not talk about the media, because we're going to talk about them a little bit, because this is where things have gotten dangerous with the Trump administration, man. He's openly talking about controlling the narrative around the war. He doesn't like any bad press. He's been pressuring networks, threatening licenses, using the FCC as leverage. The FCC controls broadcast licenses. That means TV networks depend on federal approval to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And when the government starts hitting that coverage, that could affect the licenses, that could pressure people to change the news. You don't have to shut a network down. You just make them nervous, make them state media. You make them think twice about criticizing the government. You make them fear you. Then we become Russia. We become China. State-run media where they won't say anything bad about the person in charge.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're headed. This is what the Trump administration wants. They want people to think twice about saying anything bad. How the hell are you going to blame Obama and Biden? Quit it. You make them wonder if asking hard questions would cost them. That's how media controls works in modern politics today in the Trump administration. Not just censorship, but pressure. Also access. Also threats from the FCC and Trump and Pete Hegseth. Regulations to make them follow rules, to not report on certain things. They didn't like that we reported, that the media reported that military people died. They didn't like that. They were pissed off. Oh, they're trying to make Trump look bad. So the people that lost a child, they shouldn't hear this in the news. That should be blocked. We should only say good things, even though these people's lives have been taken.
Right. Trump sent they family members to be killed.
Fuck out of here.
But the question is, why control the narrative? Every war needs public support. If people turn against the war, funding becomes harder to get. Elections become harder to win. Approval ratings drop. So controlling the story matters. If the story is we're defending America, people are going to support it. If the story is this war costs too much, the people start to question it. And if the story is Congress wasn't consulted, the people get angry. And if the story is we're cutting school fundings, but we're funding war, people start asking questions. So controlling the narrative becomes part of their strategy. That's what they're doing. It's a distraction. strategize. We're going to do something here so you don't remember this over here. They're not just fighting the war. They're managing the reaction that you and I, the American people, are having to the war.
Yeah. And we've all seen this before. We've seen it, man. We've watched the history. We've seen it. We've seen people in Vietnam. We've seen the anger from Iraq. We remember how mad people were during Afghanistan. Every time the war starts, the messages is the same. We have to do this. It won't last long. It's necessary. Weapons of mass destruction, nuclear power. We need more funding. We need more money. And every time it costs us more than expected, more lives than expected. It lasts longer than they said it was. And changes the way the country in ways people didn't expect. Now we're watching the same pattern again. The same WMD bullshit. And who's putting it forth? The Republicans again. Now, most of them will say, oh, yeah, George Bush, he messed up. He put us in a war we didn't need. But most of them are going to be, yeah, Trump, yeah. They always can look back at history, but when the history is happening, they're always on the wrong side every single time. We're watching this same pattern again today. Huge spending, growing conflict, political pressure, media battles, and the public is being told everything is under control.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's all bullshit.
Meanwhile, we're cutting
Remove that
education.
Comment, bro.
We're cutting
Switch
social programs. We're cutting oversight. But we're also increasing our war spending. That tells you everything about the priorities of this administration.
Mm-hmm.
The question isn't whether or not we can afford schools, because the answer is we can. The question isn't whether or not that we can afford health care, because we've proven that we can.
Mm-hmm.
The question is what the government chooses to fund. And right now, in this administration, war is the only thing this administration wants to fund.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take that thing off at the bottom. So, closing, let us know what you think, man. Should the U.S. be spending $200 billion more on war? Should Congress have approved the first strikes? Should the government be pressuring media coverage? Drop your comments, man. Share the video. Subscribe to Habari Live. We appreciate you guys. We're going to get into some clips real fast here. Before we get out of here real fast. So our first clip is we're in the final part of the show. Like always, man, we'd like to do some clips. And we talked about education being dismantled. We talked about the Iran war and the cost and how it's hurting the American public. We talked about the government trying to control the narrative. Now we're going to go through a series of clips that connect to everything we discussed tonight. Each one touches on media control, war messaging, political contradictions, the Epstein files, the power struggle happening in Washington right now today. We're going to introduce each clip and play it and then break it down a little, because when you see all of those together, a pattern starts to form and you start understanding exactly what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And the pattern is about control of the information, control of the money, control of the investigations, control of the story. So let's go ahead and get into this first clip where we're talking about attacking facts versus the media control. This one talks about what happens when the leaders start calling facts fake, and why controlling the narrative becomes more important than telling the truth.
It's not even really telling me what clip. Right there, just play that one at the top. That one, yeah. We're gonna play a few minutes of this.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. The Trump administration's escalating threats against media outlets. In a post Sunday, President Trump said, news organization should face treason charges for disseminating false information. FCC Chair Brendan Carr has also threatened to revoke broadcasters' licenses over their coverage of the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran. Carr wrote online, quote, broadcasters that are running hoaxes and news distortions, also known as the fake news, have a chance now to correct course before their license renewals come up, unquote. Democratic Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut blasted Carr, saying, this is the federal government telling news stations to provide favorable coverage of the war or their licenses will be pulled. A truly extraordinary moment. We aren't on the verge of a totalitarian takeover. We're in the middle of it, Senator Murphy said. This all comes as allies of President Trump consolidate their control over several major media outlets. Paramount Skydance, poised to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery, which includes CNN and HBO. Paramount CEO is David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, a close Trump ally. Last week, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made this comment about CNN.
Or more fake news from CNN. Reports that the Trump administration underestimated the Iran war's impact on the Strait of Hormuz. Patently ridiculous, of course. For decades, Iran has threatened shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. This is always what they do, hold the strait hostage. CNN doesn't think we thought of that. It's a fundamentally unserious report. The sooner David Ellison takes over that network, the better.
At the Oscars Sunday, late-night host Jimmy Kimmel made this remark.
Now, you heard him. You heard him say it. You heard him say it. The quicker Larry Ellison takes over, go ahead, switch it, bro. The quicker Larry Ellison takes over, the better. CNN is right. You guys underestimated Iran when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, period. You can try to talk big all you want to, but when it comes to what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz, you motherfuckers didn't have a good enough plan. You should have realized that was going to be one of the first things they was going to do, and you should have put in something in place to make sure that that did not happen, but you didn't. Period. Before you started this shit, you should have known, what are we going to do to help all of these countries who rely on this oil that's coming through this strait? Oh, that's ridiculous that they didn't think what the fuck are you doing? Because their plan is now you're begging other countries to help you. You have no fucking plan. You have nothing that you're fucking doing. It is easily seen. Anybody with a brain can see that you didn't have a plan. If you had a plan, our oil wouldn't have spiked the prices it has spiked so far. It's exactly what we're talking about. When people stop trusting facts, they stop knowing what's real. And when nobody knows what's real, power can do whatever the fuck it wants. And that's what's going on right now. These people keep moving the goalposts, lying, saying things that are happening. Oh, we've destroyed their everything. Why they keep bombing these other places then? You didn't go to our allies and put together a group that was going to make sure that this is taken care of. You got us doing this shit alone with fucking Israel. That's when you get wars nobody understands, budgets nobody questions, investigation nobody finishes, and a confusion to power. Now let's go about this, man. Laura Loomer took her little racist ass to India. And I love that India stood up to this girl because I hate Laura Loomer and her racist antics. But let's go to India and see how the people from India treated her and welcomed her to their country.
Call center. You then went on to say our country was built by white Europeans, not third world invaders from India. I think you should do more than just express regret. From what I can see, you're brazenly racist and Islamophobic. And I'm sorry to say that we have Atiti Devo Bhava in this country where we welcome all, but your comments smack of anti-Indianism, worse still, Islamophobia, and even worse, racism, which has no place, ma'am, in today's world. So get real, ma'am. Sorry to say that, but that comments are unacceptable to me as an Indian and as a world.
Man. I love that they called this girl out and her racist garbage. Look at her fucking face. She's sitting around talking about how she's better than somebody else. I love that India stood up because we got people here like Radhik Swami who bows down as these people just shit on them in their face. Radhik Swami just sitting there looking as white people shits on him and his culture. I'm happy that India fucking stood up and said, fuck you. Get out of our country with that bullshit. We sitting here watching so many of them just taking the racism as they shit on them. Stand up, India. Stop letting these people shit on you. And that's a motherfucking, I'm happy that dude did that shit. So the next clip, man, that clip of Laura Loomer is getting called out, man, by journalists in India. This shows what happens when narratives leaves the USA bubble. People are sick of the racism that's coming out of this country. All these Christian conservatives who think they're better than everybody. This girl looks like a clown by the face, and she walking around talking about how she's better than everybody else, and it's gonna smell like curry. Get your racist ass out of here. Cannot believe this girl has risen to power. Donald Trump listens to this lady, and y'all gonna sit here and tell me, oh, they're not racist. Sick of it, man. You notice how the questions are outside the U.S. American media sometimes plays along. Foreign journalists don't. They're sick of the bull. And that's why controlling media at home matters so much. If the only story people hear is the official one, they never see the contradictions, the racism, the hate. So next we got the CNN put together a compilation of Trump contradicting himself in the same event. Where is it at? Let's see. Go down. Trump on. I don't think that's it, but you can run that one. That's fine.
They want to negotiate. They want to negotiate badly. I don't think they're ready. They want to negotiate badly, as they should. But I don't think they're ready to do what they have to do. But I think they will be. Iran has very little firepower left. Their missiles are down to a low number. You see, they're shooting very few of them. You know why? Because they don't have very many of them. And because we've decimated their manufacturing capability. Likewise, the drones are way down. They're down to about 20% of what they had. Still have some. They're pretty tough. But the drones are down, and we're starting hitting, as of yesterday, we're hitting places where they manufacture the drones. We think most of which we know where they are. As far as I'm concerned, we've essentially defeated Iran. I guess they can have a little bit of fight back, but not much. Not much. We've taken out their air forces, you know, we've taken out their navy. Taken out their air defense, and there's no air defense whatsoever. We've taken out their leadership times 2 or 3, might be 3, we'll find out.
While he begs for help for the Strait of Hormuz, while he begs our allies to help him out, he's telling us that they're done. But why the fuck is the gas prices going up? Why the fuck we can't get a ship through the Strait? Doesn't make sense, man. This guy is saying that these people are decimated. Then why the fuck can't we get oil ships through the Strait then?
Right.
Obviously, he's lying. Obviously. They're decimated. Why are we trying to steady escalating this war? Doesn't make any sense. This is why narrative control matters. Because if people see this all the time, they start asking questions. They see the lies. And when questions start, support drops. That's why the media becomes a target. He wants to change the story. He wants to switch it up.
What are we on? Okay. Let's go ahead and get into the next one, because when question starts happening, support drops, just like you said. So here's a midterm election warning. And the next one, it's about the upcoming midterm elections and why some people think that the real story will show up there. Go ahead and play that clip.
I don't know. We have no Doge. No. It's not up there. It must be at the bottom. Epstein. No, he's talking about Epstein. Go down some more.
That's it.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but we don't have it then.
Pulled it in.
So if the public thinks the war was wrong, if they think spending is out of control, it shows up in the elections, man, and that will happen in the midterms. And that's why controlling the message now matters, because votes come later. We already played this clip on Trump on Iran and his negotiation, man. Trump is talking on Air Force One. We saw him saying Iran wants negotiations, but also saying the U.S. has basically defeated them. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. If you listen to the contradictions, you hear it. We won, but negotiations are needed. What are you saying? You're contradicting yourself. They're weak, but we need more war funding. What is that? If they're done, why do we need $200 billion fucking dollars? Make me understand this. They're done. They're decimated. You blew up their Navy. You blew up all their drones, but we need $200 billion. Make me understand that, because that doesn't make any fucking sense. Why are we spending $200 billion if the war is over? It just seems like you're just trying to make a fucking distraction from the Epstein files. And it's going to cost us $200 billion to distract. Or maybe just Israel's in charge and they're just making us do what they fucking want to do. None of this shit makes sense. That's how this war is going, man. Victory is always close, but never finished somehow. But let's talk about why we're in this fucking war. Go ahead.
For sure. Talking about why we're in the war. In the next clip, we'll go ahead and get into Representative Thomas Massie, who's threatening to use congressional immunity to expose the Epstein client list.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and roll that clip.
I'm ready to do that if the victims want me to. They believe that the best way to get justice is to force the DOJ to release these names. I've already read one name in a committee with the FBI director there. That's Jess Staley. And again, he may or may not be guilty, but he's been accused by these victims, the lawyer tells me. And there are other names. I don't have them in my possession, but if the victims want to give them to me, I've expressed that I'm willing to do that. But again, the best way is to force the DOJ to release those names on those 302 forms.
Now,
release
the names, man. And Thomas Massie, man, I want to give him a round of applause, man, because it's not many Republicans that are fighting. All the Republicans has bent the knee, showed that they are yellow-bellied fools who will not stand up to Trump for shit. But through all the bad talk and the name calling that Trump has pushed towards Massie, he has still stood firm. These files matter. And no matter who you blow up across the fucking world, we're still going to fucking hold you to account for what's going on in these files. It's crazy. But this is where things get dangerous politically. Because if those files come out, it could hit both parties, and we don't give a fuck. Fuck them. If you're in the files, you deserve it. And people think there's a cover-up, not because of conspiracy theories, because nobody wants the truth to come out. The next, we're going to talk about the Trump family and the war and some of the money they're making. Rachel Maddow is talking about money, war, and the possible conflicts of interest that's going on with the fucking Trump family. Let's go ahead and roll that video of Rachel Maddow.
I gotta say, I don't know why this isn't more of a show-stopping scandal in our country.
Bring it all the way
right?
up,
Is
bro.
it that hard to see what this is?
Thank you.
So the Saudis paid $2 billion to Trump's son-in-law, Jared. And now Jared is the U.S. government's point person in the Middle East. The New York Times now reports that while Jared is serving as the U.S. government's point person in the Middle East, Jared is simultaneously asking the Saudis for yet more billions of dollars for his private business. More than $2 billion they've already given him. Now he wants more. You know what? Why would they say no? For the low, low price of what they've already given him, the Saudis have apparently discovered the price of renting out something called the Armed Forces of the United States of America to attack their rival nation, Iran, for a war that makes a lot of sense for the leaders of Saudi Arabia and Israel, but makes no sense at all for the United States.
That's real.
The New York Times reports this weekend that the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, Mohammed bin Salman, has been on the phone frequently with President Trump since the war started, telling him to keep bombing, keep, quote, hitting the Iranians hard. Keep it up. More of this war, right? We paid for it. We're going to get what we paid for. I gotta say, I don't know why this isn't more of a show-stopping scandal in our country, right? Is it that hard to see what this is? I mean, here's this guy actively asking X country for money. They've already given him billions of dollars. He's asking for billions more dollars for his personal business, his private business. He's asking X country for money. At the same time he's asking them for money, he is also making U.S. government policy toward that country. That's it, right? Those are all the dots you have to connect. I mean, this is not like string theory, right? The result, I mean, if this guy's asking this country for money for himself while also making U.S. government policy toward that country, the resultant policy is likely to be whatever that country wants it to be. Because if it isn't, then Jared's going to be less likely to get the money that he is asking them for, right? The interests of the United States are being exchanged for private income for the president's son-in-law.
That's real.
Is this hard to see? Is this hard to grasp? Right? While we're all wondering why it is really that we're fighting this war they can't explain. I mean, for his part, the president's son-in-law says he's following the law and following ethics rules, but how would we know? They also aren't even making him file financial disclosures.
That's real. Jared running around, grabbing dollars, putting money in his pocket. Whenever war and private money mix, people start asking questions. What's going on? And those questions are exactly what some people don't want on TV. They don't want this shit out there. We know that Trump is building all type shit across the Middle East. You know that he has so much invested there. Obviously, this war is for him and his buddies and everybody else to put more money in their fucking pockets. Go ahead.
You're right. But let's go ahead and get into the next clip where the discussion about threats towards media coverage over Iran continue to happen daily. Let's go ahead and roll that clip. Media threats and treason talk. I think it's
that was probably
Trump
that
on
one.
Media.
It was probably that one.
Trump
go run
threats
that.
media
There
again.
you go. Do that one.
Go up. That one.
No, we already did that.
Okay.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
The U.S. broadcast regulator has warned media against airing, quote, hoaxes and news distortions, and that's after President Donald Trump lashed out at American outlets for reporting that Iran had damaged 5 U.S. refueling planes in Saudi Arabia. In social media posts quoting Trump's message, FCC Chair Brendan Carr wrote that broadcasters have a chance to correct course and threatens they would lose their licenses if not. Some Democrats are pushing back following that announcement by the FCC chair. California Governor Gavin Newsom posted on X saying if Trump doesn't like your coverage of the war, his FCC will pull your broadcast license, and that is flagrantly unconstitutional. And Senate Democrat Brian Schatz said it's a clear directive to provide positive war coverage. That's the tweet there. He added that this is worse than the comedian stuff. The stakes are much higher, he said. He's talking about how a war is covered. Let's go to Frank Smythe. He's the founder of Global Journalist Security and joins us live now from Leesburg in Virginia. Thank you for speaking to us here at Al Jazeera. Now, as an advocate of press freedom, what's your initial thoughts when you heard that?
Well, this is unprecedented. No official in the United States in the position of being the Federal Communication Chairman has threatened or has exercised the revoking of a license of a news organization for not covering a war, an overseas military campaign, the way the administration wants. That is not the behavior of a democratic nation. That is the behavior of a dictatorship. And so far, it's just a threat. The courts would ultimately have to weigh in if the chairman of the FCC were to revoke these licenses. But this is an attempt to restrict the press that goes beyond anything we've seen to date from this administration or from any other administration in the United States.
Go ahead,
and I think it's going to get worse because the administration seems...
Now, you hear it, man. Totalitarianism. Dictators. That's the shit that we're seeing, man. Calling journalists traitors is not normal. That's something you see in authoritarian countries. That's Putin. That's China. That's not America. And once the media is afraid, the public only hears one side. And that's what they want. They want you to be afraid. They want you to just listen to Fox News, state-run media. They don't want you to have a brain and to think outside of the fucking box. They want you to follow what they say. Believe only what they put out. Now next, go ahead.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the oversight committee subpoenaing involving the Epstein files. Now, they did subpoena Pam Bondi, so I think we have that video if we can go ahead and roll it.
It says Pam Bondi on it.
This is big. Pam Bondi is set to testify about the Epstein files. The House Oversight Committee chairman officially subpoenaed Attorney General Pam Bondi, demanding that she answer questions about the DOJ's handling of the Epstein files. In this letter, committee chairman James Comer, a Republican, writes, "As Attorney General, you are directly responsible for overseeing the department's collection, review, and determinations regarding the release of the files." 5 Republicans on the committee sided with Democrats in the move to subpoena her. Bondi's been taking a lot of heat for how she's handled the Epstein files. Like when she testified publicly before the House Judiciary Committee, refusing to answer questions about the documents. She even insulted some lawmakers who tried to push back.
Okay. And we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician. You need to watch this matter.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time. You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
You're a lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
The DOJ is saying that the subpoena is completely unnecessary and that the Attorney General has always made herself available to speak directly with members of Congress. She's set to appear for the deposition.
Yeah, man. This story won't go away.
The deposition is coming up pretty soon here.
Too many people are involved, too many people, too many sealed documents. And the longer it stays hidden, the more people think something bigger is being covered up. They can try to do what they want to, man, but we see what's going on. Let's go ahead and play this next video. Go down. Dang, I think there you go. Epstein cover-up.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to discuss this administration's massive cover-up of the Epstein files in order to conceal President Trump's involvement. This cover-up reached its apex last month when Attorney General Pam Bondi falsely testified under oath before the House Judiciary Committee. The Attorney General testified, quote, "There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that," unquote. This is a lie. In the 3 million or so documents that the DOJ has disclosed to Congress under the Epstein Files Transparency Act, there is credible evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime. And that, of course, excludes the nearly 3 million pages that the DOJ is refusing to turn over. Donald Trump is mentioned thousands of times in the Epstein files. There are multiple allegations that he sexually assaulted young girls. But I want to focus on one victim's allegations that the FBI unquestionably found to be credible. The DOJ tried to hide reports of 3 of the 4 interviews that this victim gave to the FBI, but pressure from the media and Congress forced them to disclose them. And now we know why. She credibly accuses Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her when she was between 13 and 15. In each of her interviews, this victim recited the same account of her interaction with Donald Trump. On August 7th, 2019, she explained that she was between 13 and 15 when she was left alone with Donald Trump, who, quote, mentioned something to the effect of, "Let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be." Trump unzipped his pants and put her head down, quote, down to his penis, bit the S out of it. Trump struck the victim and said words to the effect of, "Get this little B the hell out of here." The victim advised that she bit Trump's penis because he disgusted her. She provided some additional details in the next interview 2 weeks later, and then a month later, she met again with the FBI and asked, quote, what the point would be of providing the information at this point in her life when there was a strong possibility nothing could be done about it. She didn't speak to the FBI again. But the FBI certainly found her story credible. In a 21-page PowerPoint presentation that the FBI made to prosecutors, they included this victim's testimony. They would not have done so if they did not find the evidence credible, which means that Attorney General Bondi lied when she stated under oath that there is no evidence that Donald Trump committed a crime. But we're just scratching the surface, because the Epstein files also reveal that Donald Trump has made false statements over the past quarter century about Jeffrey Epstein. We know in 2002 he called him a terrific guy and said, quote, "It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." In a birthday card, 2003, that Donald Trump gave to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday, Donald wrote for himself that we have certain things in common, Jeffrey. Enigmas never aged. Have you noticed that? A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday. And may every day be another wonderful secret.
This is another example how they're trying to rewrite the story. Because we know he's guilty. We know what's going on. We see what happens. We see what Trump is doing. We see, man. It's a cover up. Dan Goldman is talking about a possible cover up. He's putting it in words and showing you what's in the fucking files. When members of Congress start saying cover up on record, that means the fight inside the government is real. This is really happening. And that's when things get unpredictable. Now we got a couple more clips of a couple Tulsi Gabbard. Let's run this Tulsi Gabbard one. We got 2 and then we're gonna get up out of here. It should be Tulsi Gabbard. Then verse now. There you go.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is...
That's ridiculous. Your job is to be able to tell people exactly what's going on and the capabilities of Iran, not just the fucking president's word. And it's insane that she can sit there and say only the president can tell us who's in imminent danger or who has proposed a dangerous to America. Only the president can say. That's unprecedented. No person has ever said that ever. But everybody in this administration says that all questions, all answers come from Trump only. The FCC say he works for Trump, not the people. This is disgusting stuff. But this is what's happening today. As people who we used to respect, bend the knee, and just do whatever the fuck Trump says. Tulsi Gabbard, man, she used to have a little bit of respect in this government, in this country. And she's losing it all for this piece of shit. Her statements about Iran then and now is fucking contradictory. This shows how the story changes depending on the moment. And she's switching up. There wasn't no fucking imminent threat. No imminent threat. And we knew that. But that's how war messaging works. Let's go ahead and run the next clip of Gabbard.
The White House stated on March 1st of this year that this war was launched
I'll put it on the
and was, quote, a military campaign to eliminate the imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, end quote. Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was an imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime?
The intelligence community assessed that Iran maintained the intention to rebuild and to continue to grow their nuclear enrichment capability.
Was it the assessment of the intelligence community that there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime, yes or no?
Senator, the only person who can determine what is and is not an imminent threat is the president.
False. This is the worldwide threats hearing where you present to Congress national intelligence, timely, objective, and independent of political considerations. You've stated today that the intelligence community's assessment is that Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated and that, quote, there had been no efforts since then to try to rebuild their enrichment capability. Was it the intelligence community's assessment that nevertheless, despite this obliteration, there was a, quote, imminent nuclear threat posed by the Iranian regime? Yes or no?
It is not the intelligence community's responsibility to determine what is and is not an imminent threat.
Okay.
That is up to the president based on a volume of information that he receives.
It is precisely your responsibility to determine what constitutes a threat to the United States.
Once again, Senator, the intelligence community has provided the inputs that make up this annual threat assessment.
You won't answer the question.
It is the nature of the imminent threat that the president has to make that determination based on a collection and volume of information and intelligence that he is provided with.
You're here to be timely, objective, and independent of political considerations.
Exactly what I'm doing.
No, you're evading a question because to provide a candid response to the committee would contradict a statement from.
Now, Gavesty, you say that Iran is launching missiles at every country in the region and then saying that they are a threat. But that did not happen before the war started.
Right.
We killed their leader, killed their second in command, and you're going to sit here and say that, oh, they're shooting at everybody in the region. That happened. Wow. So that happened because America attacked them and they retaliated. Mm-hmm. Gabbard says only the president can decide what constitutes an imminent threat. And that's wrong. That's bullshit. The imminent threat should be known by all. That huge statement, because that means one person can decide a war.
And her department has the responsibility for determining what is and what is not an imminent threat.
That's real. Then for her to say, well, I'm not doing my fucking job, it's just up to fucking Trump. Get out of here. And Congress reacts later, just like we talked about earlier. This is not good. This is not the way it's supposed to work. Nowhere near how it's supposed to work. Now I got one last one. I saw it. It's it should be Kent. Kent on Kirk. There you go. Let's play this one. We gonna get up out of here.
And then, Charlie Kirk is killed publicly in a very horrific way, and we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And we're not really even allowed to look into that at all. And Charlie Kirk was one of President Trump's closest advisors, and he also advocated heavily against a war with Iran. He was in the Oval Office in the lead up to the 12-day war. I wasn't particularly close with Charlie. He was very gracious to me when I was running for Congress, very, very supportive. So we knew each other. And the last time I saw Charlie Kirk on this earth was in June in the West Wing, in the stairway. And I said hi to him, and he looked me in the eye, and he said very loudly, and it's a small, you've been in the West Wing, it's small, it's a tight space. And he said, Joe, stop us from getting into a war with Iran. Very loudly.
He was single-minded.
And he walked off, and he went, I believe, into the Oval. So when one of President Trump's closest advisors, who is vocally advocating for us to not go to war with Iran and for us to rethink at least our relationship with the Israelis, and then he's suddenly publicly assassinated, and we're not allowed to ask any questions about that, it's a data point. It's a data point that we need to look into.
What do you mean when you say we're not allowed to ask any questions about that?
We've been told that this individual, Robinson, is a lone gunman, and maybe he is. But the investigation that I was a part of, the National Counterterrorism Center was a part of, we were stopped from continuing to investigate. And the FBI will say that they stopped that because they wanted to have turn everything over to the Utah state authorities. Everything's going to trial. It's very, very sensitive. But there was still a lot for us to look into that I can't really get into. But there was still linkage for us to investigate that we needed to run down. And I'm not making any conclusions. I'm not saying
no, I don't think you are.
Because of this happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying there's unanswered questions. We know the pressure because of the text messages that have been made public, that Charlie was under a lot of pressure from a lot of pro-Israel donors. And again, we know Charlie was advocating to President Trump against this war.
Go ahead, bring us back, bro. So, they throwing out a lot of conspiracies, man, against Israel. And a lot of people believe that Israel is running the country right now. They're lobbyists, they're lobbying, they're ass kissing of Trump. The way Netanyahu has treated Trump, and the way he's led him into these wars. A lot of people think that the brain of this whole entire operation is Israel and Netanyahu. And it's hard to dispute that when you see the outcome, you see the facts, you see what's going on. You could see it with your own eyes. Trump and his party and Hegseth, they can't figure out a straight reason why we're in this war. The goalpost steady moving, the story is steady changing. You can see why a lot of people are believing in these conspiracy theories, because so much doesn't make any fucking sense. Mm-hmm. Don't get it. Now I'm gonna go ahead and end this out. You want to do that last part on final close?
Yeah, I could do that. That's not a problem. Today we discussed education cuts, war spending, media pressure, investigations, narrative control, all in the same moment. That's not normal politics. That's a power struggle.
And the only way to understand is to look at everything together. Mm-hmm. Put it all together and put all the pieces of the puzzle and make the picture that you're trying to see.
Yep, exactly. So until next time, until Wednesday, don't forget to drop your comments in the comment section, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And if you have it in your heart, please become a member. We are using the memberships to keep the lights on. So if you want to help us grow, help us bring better information, help us bring better stories, please become a member. We highly appreciate it.
We thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate everyone that's commented, everyone that's a subscriber. We couldn't do it without you guys, man. We really, really appreciate it. And like she said, Habari is trying to build a media that brings the truth, that's not scared of other companies, not taking money from lobbyists. And we'll be able to speak the truth to real.
Help us bring the stories that you find important
That's
to
real.
you.
So until next time, peace out. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Peace.
Thanks for watching another episode of Habari Live. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get updates on news, the podcast, and more. Follow us on Facebook and